Have you ever ranked your favorite fill in the blank? Books, movies, video games, sports players, etc.? How do you determine what item goes higher or lower on your list? Pause and jot your ranking method in your Think Aloud journal. To compare is to find similarities between two or more items. To contrast is to find differences between two or more items. By comparing and contrasting our current text to other items, we begin to form our own conclusions based on multiple inputs. My job as a teacher is to teach readers to read widely, to read thoughtfully, and how to draw their own conclusions from all that they've read and seen. Today, we will compare and contrast by playing Tic-Tac-Toe. I'm going to define some common ways to compare and contrast, and you will create a 3x3 playing board. There are more than 9 choices. Comparing and contrasting a text falls into 3 general categories: text to self, text to text, and text to world. For me, text to self equals text to self. How is this text similar or different to your personal life? Text to family, to your family members. Text to friends, to your friends. For text to text, we have in text and other text. For text to text, we can define the text as the current or other book, article, movie, TV show, or video game. Any media that tells a story or informs. In text, ask for similarities and differences in the current text. Other texts ask for similarities and differences to anything you've read before the current text. Compare and contrast the theme, message of the text, characters, plot, style of writing, presentation. For text to world, I see text to news. How is the text similar or different to happenings in our current world? Text to history, to happenings from the past. Text to coworkers, classmates, to people we know or know of. Text to celebrities, to famous people. Text to other cultures, to other lifestyles around the globe. Finally, there is no free space. The free space is a compare or contrast text to you create the item. So, here's a list of usable compare and contrast items for your tic-tac-toe grid. Choose 9. Pause to fill out your grid. My grid for today will be: as we read our mentor text, we will be able to cross out a square as we think aloud about how our text compares and or contrasts to other items. Chapter 6. Our Voyage to Iceland. On the 2nd of the month, at 2 in the morning, our precious cargo of luggage was taken on board the good ship Valkyrie. We followed, and were very politely introduced by the captain to a small cabin with 2 standing bed places, neither very well ventilated nor very comfortable. But in the cause of science, men are expected to suffer. Comparison to other cultures. Artists are also said to be made to suffer for great production or a realization through their art. A few minutes afterwards, the schooner started before the wind, under all the canvas she could carry, and entered the channel. An hour later, the capital of Denmark seemed to sink into the waves, and we were at no great distance from the coast of Elsinore. My uncle was delighted, For myself, moody and dissatisfied, I appeared almost to expect a glimpse of the ghost of Hamlet. Comparison and contrast. Other text characters. When I read Elsinore, I remembered Prince Hamlet. Then Vern name drops him. But I only think Vern mentions the ghost to represent Harry's fear, not because a ghost will actually appear in this story. Towards evening, the schooner doubled Cape Sagan, the northern part of Denmark, crossed the Skagerrak during the night, skidded the extreme point of Norway through the gut of Cape Lindesnes, and then reached the Northern Sea. 2 days later, we were not far from the coast of Scotland, somewhere near the Danish sailors called Peterhead, and then the Valkyr stretched out direct for the Faroe Islands between Orkney and Shetland. Our vessel now felt the full force of the ocean waves, and the wind shifting, we with great difficulty made the Faroe Isles. On the 8th day the captain made out Magennisness, the westernmost of the isles, and from that moment headed direct from Portland, a cape on the southern shores of the singular island for which we were bound. The voyage offered no incident worthy of record. Contrast. Other text plots. I've read many seafaring books, all of which gave greater detail of daily life at sea, telling time by bells, using the wind or current, daily chores. Verne must skip all this because his novel is about the center of the earth, not the journey on the sea. Now, on my compare-contrast board, I do not yet have Tic-Tac-Toe. But these videos are to model how to be an active reader. The point is to get you actively reading your text. So congrats! You are now actively reading by comparing and contrasting your text to other items. Share your tic-tac-toe boards, your think-alouds, and your created item at the elaconnection@gmail.com. Join us next time when we think aloud about surprises. Till then, interact with your text as an active reader.